He says, "You evil Marxists should all be killed. It would be poetic justice to have someone storm your offices and shoot up the place, leaving none of you commies alive."
History is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
We're going to go down a bit of a different rabbit hole about power, the power of language. Who controls it? Who decides when words mean what they mean, if those definitions change over time? Well, one of the big arbiters of this decision-making power is the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Webster's defines woman, girl, and female in certain ways. And these definitions have shifted over time. Today, the word girl is defined in Webster's as, of relating to or being the sex that typically has the capacity to bear young or produce eggs, and having a gender identity that is the opposite of male. So let's think about, I don't have an older legacy definition in front of me, but I think we can all probably pick some of the additions to make it kind of catch up with the times. The idea of gender identity, that being a thing, and of relating to, adding those instead of just being the sex that is typically the capacity to bear young or produce eggs. Makes a whole lot of sense. Gender identity and fluidity, and the way we as humans and as, citizens really treat and think about people with differing gender identities than what they were born with. It's come a long way. I mean, there's obviously still horrible injustices and horrible violence against the trans community, specifically, where it used to be more highlighting and focusing on the gay or the queer community, hate crimes. Now it is very much something that is affecting very disproportionately young trans people who are being killed all over the world just because of the way they look, the way they identify, and it freaks a lot of people out. But Webster's decided to go, to be that leader, to be the arbiter of culture, and to move that definition forward. That is my opinion. I applaud them for doing that. But there's some people, likely the same kinds of people that would do harm to people with trans identities, who don't like that, who think that it represents some sort of agenda, some sort of nefarious plot to pollute the minds of the youth or something like that. And one such person is a man by the name of Jeremy David Hansen, who between October 2nd and October 8th, according to this article in Gizmodo by Jody Serrano, submitted multiple threatening messages on the contact us form on the, I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It's just it's not how you think people would use that form on the Webster's website, and threatening, essentially ranting about, in opposition to the things I was just describing, these changes, these adaptations of these definitions over time. I'm going to use he's got some very charged language in here, but I'm going to read it. I'm going to bleep out anything that I think is just beyond. But he says, "Your headquarters should be shot up and bombed. It is sickening that you have caved to the cultural, Marxist, anti-science," and a word I'm not going to use here, but it starts with a T and ends with Annie, agenda, and altered the definition of, quote, female as part of the left's efforts to corrupt and degrade the English language and deny reality. You evil Marxists should all be killed. It would be poetic justice to have someone storm your offices and shoot up the place, leaving none of you commies alive. Yeah. So In another, screed on the same forum, he said it's absolutely sickening that Merriam-Webster now tells blatant lies and promotes anti-science propaganda. There is no such thing as, quote, gender identity, end quote. Let's see. The imbecile who wrote this entry should be hunted down and shot. And this is actually a comment he wrote on the online version of the dictionary on the comment page for the definition of female. Seems very interesting they would have a comment section on the dictionary, but there you go. If we need proof that the internet will create rage out of just about anything and a reason to put nasty comments, it's people commenting on the dictionary. But this guy's under investigation. There's a U.S. attorney assigned to the case who said in a statement that anonymous threats against specific communities will not be tolerated, adding that perpetrators will be identified, arrested, and held accountable in federal court. And I'm quoting part of the Gizmodo article in addition to her quote. An FBI special agent on the case, Joseph Bonavolanta, who's in charge of the FBI's Boston agency, he said this of the case: everyone has a right to express their opinion, but repeatedly threatening to kill people, as has been alleged, takes it to a new level. Threats to life are most certainly not protected speech, and they cause real fear in victims, which was very clearly the case because Webster's office actually shut down for 5 days because of this. So that's the story. What do you guys think of this kind of absolute vitriol pointed at such a seemingly innocuous publication as the dictionary, and yet, like I said at the top, the ability to kind of guide the definition of those words, it is a lot of power.
My first response is, I guess he didn't have the money to buy the dictionary, like to buy the whole company and just change it and say he's a champion of free speech or whatever. I'm kidding, but right. No, clearly this person has been radicalized, right? In some way. It does not matter what someone's particular personal beliefs are, right? You can have your personal beliefs, as reprehensible as they are, in the US. And this is one of those countries where you can also talk trash about the government and not get black bagged, which we all kind of take for granted nowadays. But we don't know how long it'll last. So enjoy it while you can. But the thing here is that I've never met this guy. I haven't communicated with him before this story. But one thing that we can say without stereotyping is that in a lot of these cases, this kind of opprobrium and vitriol and hate speech is coming from a not entirely sound mind. You know what I mean? A mind that has maybe been caught in some algorithmic bubble and just bouncing around with their only points of access being the same kind of echo chamber information. It might be that something personal happened in this person's life that became the impetus for them to start making these threats. But I believe, Noel, he hasn't been convicted of anything, right? He's on $25,000 bond. Okay.
That's right. And, all of these statements are being reported. We have to attach alleged here because he has not been convicted, and he obviously didn't actually do anything. But to make these types of threats is a step beyond the pale of free speech.